Welcome back, everybody, to the show. I am your host, as always, Jay Villain, aka That Villain J. And tonight, with me, as always, is, well, you know him as the numbest of skulls, Mr. Numb Skull right here. We are back with our, I guess, our second annual all, let's see, what would we call it? Year-end best of, worst of, and look ahead. I don't know what else to call it, but it's our last
year in review,
2023 year in review, and the year coming.
Annual review, evaluations,
annual review, however you want to call it.
I'm making it corporate. Sorry.
Yeah, evaluation. Sure, however you want to do it. Yeah, it's here. So we're gonna look back. This is gonna be a lot of looking back. It's gonna be a lot of our best of and worst of. So we're going to get into a lot of opinion of what we have, where Magic came from, where it's going, and we're going to look ahead at some of the future sets, what we're excited about. We want to know about you too, guys. This is going to be go live. It's going to be a live, so you're going to be able to live chat with this one, leave comments. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from the patrons, especially. What was your favorite part of the year? This is going to be heavily interactable. What was your favorite part of the year? What was your least favorite? And of course, what are you looking for in the future? We're going to go over all of that this episode, and just think about our year and think, talk about our favorite moments and everything else. So that all being said, we want to thank our patrons who are supporting us and have supported us throughout the year. We've grown the Black Council quite a bit. We're in episode 47, I believe, which is wild. This is our first full year of Black Counseling. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, and we really thank you guys for supporting us all along the way and everything that we've done here. So Numbskull, you want to read them up?
Yeah, for sure. And just, of course, thank you for, we have a few new people on here, but we really do have some people who have damn near been here the whole time. Here, let me just sort it by join date. In honor of all of that, I'm gonna read it by the newest to the oldest patrons. How about that?
Hey, there you go.
We'll see who's been here.
Who's been here the longest?
Been here the absolute longest, and then we're thankful for all of you, but there are some of you guys who've really been here since day one, and we really appreciate it. So that's awesome. So we just want to make sure that we, see love, and then, hey, maybe next year your name's even further down the list if you stick around. So who knows? But anyway, we'll start it from here. We got Metal Mechanic, Eclipse, Notorious D, Deadfast, Frank E, Argent Icon, W Taylor, Set You On and On, The Clash, a live action RPG, Elvan Preems, Xylo, Jamel, Trexadactyl, Lord Gypticus,
the Flipticus,
Mamulian, Cassius, Nickel Nuts, H-Man, Ulfir, Dante Valentine, My Name is Steve, and of course, our OG patron beating My Name is Steve by 6 days, Paradabo.
A whole pair of Dabos.
A whole pair of them. And
not even just one. Yeah.
We really appreciate
Ulfir, Dante, Steve, Paradabo. You guys have been there since, almost, I think the 4 of them are the oldest ones from August, September when we first launched. So thank you so much. And thank you to our latest one, Metal Mechanic, too. So,
yes, thank you to Metal
there.
Mechanic. Yeah, we're really appreciative of it, and it's just and we always still think, like, every time we look at it, Jay and I, like, we see the number of patrons, even though, like, it doesn't really, it might go up or down by like 1 or 2 each time, but we still, I feel like every time we see the number, we both kind of marvel at it for a second, even still, you know what I mean? Just because we're like, man, this many people give a shit. We never thought that would happen. So thank you again. Seriously. So we have the year in review, and I guess we're gonna try to keep it mostly Magic related for
well, we can do personal, and we can enjoyed. there's some ancillary stuff we can talk about, but we're gonna mostly keep it. It is a Magic podcast. It'd be weird if we just talked about, you know, if all of a sudden we're like, so Destiny 2, what do you
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, you know, hey, like, we're gonna ask everybody else, because I was like, all right, please don't trauma dump in Jay's YouTube chat. But just, you know, whatever. Yeah, no trauma dumping in chat. But but regardless, let's start it. Jay, what was your favorite thing this year?
So this is going to be a controversial one, and it has to do with my channel. It has to do with how much fun I had, my engagement, and just everything else. My favorite part of the year, I had an absolute blast. It was probably the revitalizing shot in the arm we needed for a certain beleaguered format, was the Lord of the Rings set and playing in Alchemy this summer. Was probably the highlight of fun and the highlight of success that I've had for my channel. The amount of reception, the positive reception I had on my channel, and I just personally had for the Lord of the Rings set. And I know it was an Alchemy, and I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, even though it should be.
Sure.
It was absolutely probably the most fun, and the reception was amazing. My number one most viewed deck video, and I think number 2 most viewed deck video. I think number 1 and number 2, let me check the analytics, are Lord of the Rings deck videos. So we had people, I had people coming from everywhere. I had people coming from Google, people who never played Magic before or were interested in it. I'm sorry, it was it is currently the number 1, and then the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the number 8th. So 2 of the top 10. No, I'm sorry, 1, 5, and 8. It is 3 of the top 10 most viewed, and the number 1 most viewed video I've ever had on my channel is a Lord of the Rings deck. It has 20,000 views, and it's those damn Nazguls.
The Nazguls, man.
The Nazguls, man. I think they absolutely, and I want to say part of the reason that I was so successful, I had such low expectations for it. I was like, this is going to be weird. It's not really going to be great. It's how is it going to fit in thematically? But man, they really knocked it out of the park. They just absolutely knocked it out of the park with it. The implementation, the fun it was to play in a different set than standard in Alchemy. The mechanics, how it all slotted in, the artwork, the themes, the new mechanics, Temptation Ring. I mean, we did get some broken stuff. You know, we got broken ring stuff and we got broken Orcish Bowmasters, but I think it really wasn't. I don't think it's as broken as anything else that we have. I don't think it's beyond the pale, and they did nerf some of it. So, it was my favorite time of the year. It was probably the most that I've played Magic, and the most engagement. That's what really made me happy. The engagement I had from the community, of how many people were coming, looking for these videos, saying, "Hey, I really want to get into this. I want to, you know, how do I start Magic again? How do I get going?" It was just great to see. It was great to see that rejuvenation of Magic, and it was just my favorite time. And it was really earmarked by going in from that to Wilds of Eldraine, which the enthusiasm like went off a cliff. So or did we go right into Wild Eldraines from there? I don't remember, but going from that
was there was another one, but it still wasn't very impacting. That was the issue.
Yeah. No, I think it was Eldraine, because we had Summertime was. Yeah.
Okay.
It came out in June. And then Eldraine.
Was there like an August set?
Eldraine was like an August.
Or was that Eldraine? Okay. Okay. Then yeah.
September was
Eldraine.
So we went June, July, August, September. Yep, was Eldraine.
Into September. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean, and that I thought that was really noteworthy for you too, because you always would talk about how people would come in and like complain about the Alchemy videos or how those didn't do as well on YouTube, stuff like that. So it's pretty remarkable that, you know, Lord of the Rings was able to garner that much interest and take it from a format that we didn't know if it was going to stick around to one that's definitely breathed life into it. And it was definitely a time where like I've heard the least trash talk on alchemy. Let me phrase it like that. You know what I mean? I didn't really have, like, I had people saying, okay, I'm sick of the broken combos, which you're always going to have people who dislike broken combos. You know what I mean? That's just like, you know, a play style that's going to disagree with it, which is part of Magic, you know? But yeah, a lot less alchemy slander than normal. So that was pretty awesome. I would definitely say that it was helpful. It was a good time for Magic. I think you're right. There was a lot of excitement this past summer, and people were very much interested in playing.
Yeah, no, for sure. There was definitely rejuvenation. There was a lot of outside. Like I said, I could look at my analytics and I could see so many views all of a sudden coming from people Googling, like, you know, because it's YouTube just tells you like Google Analytics as well, and it would be like you know, people are looking in browsers. Where do I find like 67% of the outside external views came from Google searches of people Googling MTG Nazgul, Lord of the Rings MTG, and it fed them my deck. So there was just this huge upsurge of, you know, people wanting to get involved in this and wanting to, you know, oh, Magic, Lord of the Rings. Wow, that's a cool crossover. Maybe I'll buy a booster pack. Maybe I'll download a read and see what it is.
Yeah,
it was really
a good time to be a YouTuber,
huh? Yeah, I mean,
damn good time for that.
It was. It really was, and I like Lord of the Rings. I was very happy. I was not at all bothered by any of the weird, you know, the art decisions that they made. That some people were. I think it did the set good, and I'm happy. The reason, you know, I complain about Magic. I'm happy when Magic is happy. I want the hobby to expand. I don't want Magic to die. I don't want it to be unsuccessful. I want, you know, engagement in what it is. So,
yeah, of course.
So it was a very healthy time in Magic. So probably the best time of the year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So what was yours? I've said mine. What was your favorite time of the year? What was your highlight?
For me, I think it had to have been Magicon going in Philly, and that was early. That was in February.
Oh, that was early. Yeah.
I had to think back a little bit, and and nothing comes to mind topping that. You know what I mean? Maybe that combination of that, and then getting fourth in Pizza Box. When I got top 8 in Pizza Box, that was a hell of a day. Yeah. But Magicon was great just because it was really cool to have such a strong like human interaction on that side of things, you know. And I love being in Philly, so it was great to be in Philly. And of course, winning the event down there was super awesome, especially with like, you know, a deck that I made that nobody was going to be prepared for.
Oh, so you won an event? I didn't even know you won it with all the news coming out. I didn't even know you won an event down there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the one standard event. It wasn't a huge thing. It was maybe like 20 people, but I won it. It was like one of the smaller satellite events, and yeah, I didn't lose a single game. I 2-0'd everybody.
Wow.
So that was pretty sick. And I got they give you tickets when you win, and it's kind of like you're at an arcade, but every prize in the arcade is like Magic packs or like card or like sleeves or like play mats, whatever. So I just like basically won a bunch of free packs and then opened the packs and got some cool cards, and I was able to sell some for money and then kind of like paid for my day pass for the day that I went, and paid for me to enter the event. So I basically like kind of did it all for free, which was great, you know.
Fantastic.
That was really fun. And then just meeting some of the people, you know, meeting some of the Magic Jank people, that was great. You know, I'm meeting Hollywood Pizza, Ham Hocks, that was cool. Philly. Who else? Oh, I saw Peridabo there. Yeah, Peridabo was there too.
Yeah, we saw a lot. Yeah.
So it was awesome. Yeah, it was a great time. I'm you know, equally excited to go to Magicon Chicago too. And this time I'll be there for the whole weekend, so that'll be great. And yeah, and then I would say top 8ing Pizza Box was just really cool. It was surreal. The run that I went on was ridiculous. I lost my first round and then won out until top 8, and then I got eliminated in top 8.
Wow.
So, but going into top 8, I was in 4th basically. But yeah, I lost the first one, and I had a match in that one, I believe, where a dude actually ran out of time when they swung for lethal.
Oh my goodness.
They were just like someone who wasn't like, they were playing in full control. They were playing in full control the whole time, and like micromanaging every little decision, it felt like. And I mean, they had a control deck, and it was a somewhat complex deck to play, but they had the game. They had me beat in game 3.
Wow.
And they swung for lethal, and I was like holding up removal, but I was holding up I think it was like a Shoulder's Edict or something like that. So I held up that, and me holding up the Shoulder's Edict forced them to choose a creature to sacrifice, and they took so long to choose the creature that they lost because they ran out of time. So it was just like, you know, it was just a crazy, but had that not happened, I wouldn't have made the top 8. So it was just like a crazy combination of luck and things that lined up properly. And I'd like to say I played well. I probably could have played better, but I'd like to think I played well if I made top 8. You know what I mean? And of course, and we'll get to how I feel about this later in the episode, but it was before Invoke was banned. So I was just I was ripping Invoke after Invoke.
I remember you were King Invoker for a while, man.
Yeah, man. It was awesome. It was a really fun day of Magic. And yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I almost didn't even enter the tournament. I literally made the deck at 9:30 that morning and didn't play test it. That was the funniest part. I didn't even test it. I was just like, all right, these cards are good. Like, fuck it. Here's a bunch of good black cards. Let's do it.
It's so funny you say that, because some of the best decks I have, I've totally shot from the hip on them.
Yeah, it's just, you're just like, you got the creative juices going, and you just, you know.
I think probably it's because you don't overthink it. Like, you just shoot from the hip, and it just, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, as a musician, some of the best music I've written was just when I wasn't thinking about it, you know?
Riffing, yeah.
Or at least not thinking too much, you know? So absolutely, yeah. Sometimes magic just comes out. No pun intended. All right.
It just comes out. You just work yourself a little bit, you squeeze a little, you know, and the magic comes out.
You just got to squeeze the magic.
You got to kind of milk it out of you, you know.
A couple times a week. Some of us do it more than others, but it's fine.
But whatever way you got to get it in. You know,
I definitely don't do it like 3 times a day.
No, that's too much magicking.
That's too much, right? It's painful. Yeah. So what was your least favorite thing?
So this is an ongoing thing. It was a bad moment, but I would have to say it's a malaise that kind of painted over the last half of the year, especially the last quarter of the year. Yeah, it's something that I think was a very silly decision. I think it's affecting, and it was my least favorite thing that happened this year. And that, my friend, is no standard rotation. I think that almost all of the problems, every complaint that you could have right now with all of standard, with every complaint about control decks or where we are in the meta currently, it can all be pinned back to no standard rotation. The ruling that they did to do this ostensibly to make standard cards last longer so people would be interested in investing more in them doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why that I don't understand why that particular time not rotating out the previous sets was going to encourage people to, like, I guess, buy older cards. I don't even really know what the reasoning was. Yeah, but I guess it was like, oh, well, Kamigawa's not rotating. I'll invest in Kamigawa and in, I don't know how much that encouraged people to do it. I think that there lacked the main issue. And the thing is, the idea was to rejuvenate Standard. It's literally the only thing they've done to rejuvenate Standard. They said they have a bunch of other plans or ideas to do, and they haven't done them. So they came up with another document recently that was like, oh, well, we're going to do this, and we're going to support local game stores, and we'll try to do a tournament here or there. But it seemed like such a strange way, counterintuitive, and it made people, honestly, right now, from like what I get from my community, from chatting on, from comments, and from just chatting with my players on Twitch, everyone who plays Magic the Gathering, it's made Standard less fun for them because they're dealing with the same crap that they have for a year.
Yeah.
So you have a full new 3 more sets coming up, and they're all going to have to go up against this high-powered stuff. It's not going to switch the meta around. Yeah. Part of the reason I think they kind of missed the mark. The fun of Standard is the fact that it's always fresh, is that it's constantly moving.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, it's kind of bleeding edge. So I don't really understand the decision. I mean, Wizards, maybe they have more internal data than I do. I'm just some guy at a computer screen somewhere. But from on the ground, man, and it really ate up, especially the fact that they did it so quickly, because they said Eldraine, Ixalan, Karlov, and Thunder Junction were all made. The new ones coming up were all made for a post-rotation universe. They built those sets in mind, assuming that certain cards were going to rotate. So there's like weird reprints. There's weird repeats of cards. They've made like analogous cards that were like set to replace it. Yeah, it came out of nowhere. It wasn't like they floated the idea. They were just like, hey, a month or 2 months before rotation, they were just like, oh, it's not happening. Good luck. So the whole thing was strange. It was poorly announced. It was poorly explained. In my opinion, the justification was dubious. So yeah, and it's something that we're living with, and we're going to be living with throughout 2023 until we get to rotation. We can finally say goodbye to Farewell, the mass exile. We can Selesnya enchantments. We can finally say farewell to Jin. We can Wandering Emperor.
Yeah.
Like Wandering Emperor is like ubiquitous, The triple lands, Rafine.
Fucking Rafine.
Yeah, so the triple lands that make Esper so useful, like Rafine's Tower. There's a lot of stuff that is holding up Standard, is holding up the meta right now, especially for a lot of control decks. And we'll lose a lot of good stuff too, but at the end of the day, I think we would stand it. And honestly, I don't mind losing stuff if it makes the game fresh.
Sure.
And so I was disappointed that the game was not going to be made fresh again.
Yeah.
I really was kind of hoping for that. So yeah, that's my number one. That's my number one thing that I don't understand the move. I don't know why it had to happen, but it happened. Yeah.
And I have like 2 kind of follow-ups to that too, because I agree with you that it was bad. Well, actually, I guess 3 follow-ups. So kind of feels like that's why they had to come out with Timeless.
Just like, hey, almost.
Here's this, because you guys are, we're 3 months into no rotation, and you guys are pretty pissed. So play with this.
We're kind of bored here.
Yeah,
we're kind of bored.
It got stale, and they knew that the cards that they made, because of their poor timing, since they were made for a post-rotation standard, they didn't hit the way they thought they would. So now we have to give you Dark Ritual. We have to let you play Dark Ritual in a format. And another thing, and I am, what's a good way to phrase it? I'm inclined to agree with this take to an extent, and I wouldn't have been mad if they did it this way. Is if some people said what they should have done is had rotation this year, and then around when they announced that they weren't going to rotate, what they should have said is, hey, next year at this time there will be no rotation.
Yeah.
And 1, it gives you a full year. 2, it doesn't completely water down the cards that you already designed. You know what I mean? And then you're like, screwing yourself over there. And then I think it would have been a good time to get to kind of resolve the current standard, you know, as it was, and then start this whole 3-year thing, because it's going to be like that going forward now too, correct?
Yeah,
we're going to have a rotation every 3 years instead of
every
2.
3 years. Yeah,
so it's not just like they skipped a year. It's like, you know, going off of what Jace said and how it affects things going forward is it's every 3 years we rotate now, not just 2. So that's relevant when you think about what format do I want to invest in if I'm a new player. Do I want to continue playing standard? Because now I have to buy cards from 3 years worth of sets at some point.
Eventually, yeah.
And it's funny because people, they worry about people not being able to quote unquote get into Magic because of the price of admission. And extending this by a year effectively raises the cost of admission.
Yeah.
You know, to an extent. And equally, it's almost like entices you to play an Eternal format where you can get into a deck for $300 or $400 and you never
rotate. Yeah,
if you don't want to, you don't have to buy new cards, or maybe you buy a new one here and there.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So it almost like says, "Oh, I should just play that instead."
Yeah,
and it almost like turns you away, or maybe now you just play Commander. You don't
exactly. You're like, oh, I don't even want to worry about it.
Yeah. So it's interesting how that kind of plays out. And then, you know, going along with that, you know, I think that I think like the good standard decks, like maybe 200-300, some as high as like 500 for those like really crazy. I think some of those Esper decks get kind of expensive with all the legends and stuff, maybe. And like some of the mana bases, like that 5-color deck might be expensive because of Atraxa and all the lands you have to get. But also, if you're gonna have this 3-year standard, one of the reasons that I think it's a little bit of an issue, and I know you said you're not a fan of the triomes, but if you give yourself that much time and you already have X amount of triomes, why don't you put the rest of the triomes into one of the sets?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we still have 3 to go to see if it happens.
If you're going to support triple color, why not just support triple color? Yeah.
Yeah, if you're going to have it and you're going to have the longest standard you've ever had with triomes in rotation for a good portion of that 3-year period, the better part of it, why don't we just say screw it and complete the triome cycle? Or at least, how many triomes did they put? Was it 4 or 5 triomes in there?
Yeah, there's 5 in there.
5. So do we need 5 more?
You would need 10 to do them all. Yeah,
do the other 5. And wouldn't it have been a good opportunity in Murder at Carlisle Manors, because we talked about all the guilds of Ravnica? So you could have like used the Ravnica families to do that in a way. It felt like, you know, because you had the families
them saying that they were joining forces or something like that. Like,
whatever. You know what I mean? And then that gives you alternate routes. And I'm not telling you how to write your story, obviously, but you know, it just feels like if you're gonna have standard that long, you can give us the freaking triomes. And am I making 5-color control better? Probably, but just do it. Just that's your chance to do that. And I don't know, maybe that's not the goal, but it just feels like for the completeness and the, you know, closure of all of it, we should just have the triomes. I don't know. So that and maybe that's nitpicky, but it feels like it was the perfect time to do it, and it didn't happen. So yeah, I definitely agree. It was not a favorable thing this year.
No, it was odd, and I didn't understand it. It just seemed, and I still don't really understand how it makes standard better. I've had it explained a bunch, but I don't know. I've have to talk to some real paper players in standard, which of course they're few and far between now, naturally.
A little
and
less,
say, hey, did this help? Do you feel better about it now? Or even talk to commander players. I mean, go to commander players, say, did this make you want to play standard, hearing about how this is now the thing? And if they're like, no, of course not, I never even considered even playing commander, then you kind of have your answer. It's like, okay, well, this didn't do anything except make standard worse for longer. which is not a good look, you know.
Yeah, one argument I have heard, and something for that, is I do know that they are trying to make Standard a more relevant competitive paper format now, with like having some Pro Tours and RCQs and stuff like that. There is a RCQ season for Standard now. We're actually in the Standard season for RCQs, and I know that was one of their explanations, but it still felt like they could have accomplished that with a 2-year rotation anyway. So I don't know how necessary it really was. And it feels like, I don't know. I mean, I guess 5-color domain has stayed good since domain came out, pretty much ish. Whatever, but yeah, it just kind of feels like we still could have gone without, and maybe it was doing too many things at once. Why don't you just make the competitive push towards Standard and see how it goes before you make a decision like that? You know? Feels like we could have maybe like had some empirical data, and we didn't really have any because we didn't try the thing first before we did the other thing, you know? So I don't know. Feels maybe rushed, kind of like you said, out of nowhere. And maybe if we would have waited until next year, we could have gave it a year, and then it would have been all right. It would have been like, okay, well, we know that we need it now, or we don't know that we need it now. You know?
Yeah.
So
it was just it was odd. Thing. Oh, well, yeah. Let's jump to your worst thing.
Sorry,
we beat a dead horse here.
Speaking of beating a dead horse, which you probably heard me complain about.
Oh, here it comes. I already know what it is. If you said beat a dead horse.
May 29th. I didn't know the day before the episode. Jay actually looked it up when we were talking before the episode. Invoke Despair is banned. Also, Fable gets banned. Wasn't that mad about it. Was a little annoyed because the 4 Fables that I had went down in value, but whatever. I'll let you have it. The Fable decks were those Grixis Fable decks were a little too crazy. It was like everything was Grixis. It was a little much, you know. And they were able to cast Invoke Despair as much as they wanted, which they shouldn't have been able to do with the mana demands of the deck that they were running. So I get it, honestly, and I'm not even mad that Fable got banned. Bankbuster being banned, I was a little like, I get it because it's colorless, so any deck can run it. But also, doesn't that make it slightly more fair? I don't know. You know what I mean?
That was the problem. Is it was too ubiquitous. It was an auto include, and they don't ever like auto includes.
That's true. Yeah. So I get it. But man, you're gonna ban my Invoke Despair? I'm still not over it. Actually, there's like a couple things that happened this year that I'm still not over, and that's one of them. Magic or related or not. And usually I get over things pretty quick. I'm not over this. It was such a slap in the face that day.
You loved that card, and it got you to Mythic, I think, 4 or 5 times in a row, maybe?
Every month that it was in one of my decks, you know?
Yeah.
And, dude, there's 4 black in the casting cost. You didn't need to ban it. It was hard enough to cast. You know what I mean? It was just like, why? And that's what had me playing Alchemy so long, and then until it rotated, all right, I'm a Standard player again.
Yeah.
The redeeming quality was that we got the Bloodletter of Aquazot. So that was the redeeming quality.
Yeah, we did get Bloodletter for your mono black fiending.
Yes. So that was cool. But yeah, I was terribly unhappy with it. We don't have to dwell too much on it because we kind of have voiced how we felt, honestly, like throughout the year, throughout the last 7 months that it's been banned. But yeah, I mean, we were just thinking about that when the episode or before it started too. It's like that card's been banned for 7 months now. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I loved my Invoke Despair. Was it kind of a cheat code? I guess, but there were ways to play around it, and there's all kinds of counter spells out there, and this and that. So it's like, you know, I just love that it punished people who didn't do anything. That's what I loved about it. It made you play.
That was, yes, Yeah. It wasn't that bad. If you had an enchantment, a creature, or a planeswalker, if you had a couple of things out, it wasn't that bad. Okay, you lost 2 life and they get to draw a card or whatever. But if you were sitting there and really, and I think that's the biggest issue, it punished control. If you were just one of those guys that wants you want a clean board, you want nothing out, you want nothing happening, you were going to have a bad time, because those clean board guys, when you hit them with that right away, and they had no mana to deal with it, it just hurt. It just hurt. And I like that. And the 4 mana cost, I feel like was, I feel like it was fair. I think the prevalence of treasure, and honestly, I think the problem was Bankbuster and Kiki Jiki. I think that those were the main reasons that you were able to do it, because of the treasure and the ability to play off color. You could shove it in any. It was built for mono black decks, and all of a sudden you had it in every deck. You know, that was kind of the problem, I think.
And that was one of my biggest issues with it, is like, I mean, I played a little Rakdos and I tried Grixis, but I ultimately would just always go back to mono black. Well, the mono black splash white for Path of Peril, whatever. But ultimately, the way I look at it is like mono black players got punished because there were too many cards that made treasure tokens, if you think about it. Because if you ban Fable and you ban Bankbuster, then doesn't it make it so that Invoke is going to be less prevalent, only played in mono black decks or other decks that have a heavy devotion to black and maybe just a splash of another color?
Exactly.
You're not, because it before, or at that point, it was almost like they were splashing black, or it was like equal black and equal the other color. You know what I mean? But now it's like you have to mostly be black, and whatever other color you run, there can only be like one of those in the mana cost. Otherwise, your mana base isn't strong enough to cover everything that you want to do. So that seemed limiting enough. If you just get rid of the cards that were arguably more broken in Fable and Bankbuster. When you take out the treasure generation, it makes Invoke a lot more fair. And it's like, I don't know. And I think one of the big issues was Fable. I think Fable needed to be banned sooner. I think that was a problem.
Fable was a problem for a long time. Yep. And they were holding off on.
Yeah, and because they didn't ban it sooner, I think that's what helped get Invoke banned. Was it because then they could have banned it like 3 months prior to that and said, okay, well, let's see how Invoke and Bankbuster and the rest of the format does without the easy token generation every turn from Fable. And let's see where it ends up with that, and if Invoke is used still in so many decks. Okay. You know what I mean? Then all right, then it was fine. And it just feels like every year they hit a strong black card. They hit Meathook the year before, now they hit Invoke, and it's just like, dude, once a year you're dropping this super good card and then you're just getting rid of it, and I hate it.
I think that part, I think you're kind of onto something. There was a lot of good black cards. There was in coming up in the meta. I think they knew, you had you had Sheoldred coming, you had Phyrexian Fleshgorger. You had so much positive, powerful shit in black. It just black was so ascendant.
We did own up to it.
Else.
When we saw Aquazots, we were like, oh, this is why they banned Invoke.
Because if you had, imagine if you hit somebody, they would lose 12 life if you hit them.
12 life, 3 cards for 5 mana.
Yeah, so that
and arguably 16 when you attack with Aquazots too. So
and that's awful. That's just there's so much coming, and I think that they try to build cards that are balanced. All the invokes kind of, only Invoke Justice I think was the only other one that, but it's scaled. I mean, did anybody even use the other invokes? They invoke nature or invoke the red invoke was not very good. Like comparatively, something that makes life loss, draws cards, forces sacrifice. Like it was just a smorgasbord of everything black does. amazingly all the time. So
in one card.
So it was hard. It was arguably hard to say that, you know, hey, obviously this is leaps and bounds better, seeing so much more play. It was hard for them to just kind of, and I listen, I'm not even going to say that I don't understand why they did it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very strong, very strong card.
And it does suck. It sucks seeing that active cards like that and so many control cards, board wipes, you know, these kind of lockdown, don't play the game cards get so much more love, and these kind of fun, powerful black cards get banned. That's kind of disheartening, you know. That's kind of demoralizing, because it's like, all right, well, you know, you let Emperor stay, and that's in every freaking deck.
That's the thing, and it's like we don't see the emphasis on cleaning that up on other stuff that we do on these strong black cards. So that I think, and then seeing it happen 2 years in a row, I think that's what really hits you. You know, they get you with Meat Hook, and then they get you with Invoke, and it just starts to feel personal almost. We don't actually think of it that way, but it feels that way when you first read it. You know. So yes, I totally agree with that, and I'm not saying that it wasn't like OP. It was definitely OP. Absolutely. It was the best card. It was the best 5-drop in the game, probably. I don't think there was a better 5-drop. You know what I mean?
No, by far no. Closest by a mile as far as non-creature. Priest to Gix's Command, probably the only thing even remotely close.
Gix's Command is pretty good, yeah. For a 5-drop, yeah. So yeah, or like Sunfall. Sunfall is kind of ends up being a bomb sometimes. Like Sunfall can be like that, but we hate it. But you know, but that's another thing. The cards like that stick around, and it's like, well, you know,
why did you live and why did he die?
Yeah,
I know.
Because the people who played Sunfall were the people that you would hit with an Invoke Despair. You know, because they're not playing creatures or doing whatever because they don't want anything on the board. Okay, fine. You know, so that's why I liked it. It made me feel like I had, and I guess maybe that's part of the balance is you don't want to make mono black feel like it has a chance against every deck, but at the same time, you can't. When Invoke Despair was relevant, and mono red still is decent, obviously, and then you know, mono red was a thing during that time. You couldn't expect to beat mono red when your win con was going to be invokes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because by the time you resolved enough invokes to kill them, you would be dead. So there were also that went against
mono
it,
red.
You know?
Mono red could build a board, like a crazy high board that would really not be hurt that badly.
And then they have like Squee, and they're just like sacking 1/1s to invoke, and like they're like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna hit you for 8 damage next turn. I don't care, you know. So it felt like there was a kryptonite to it. It's not like it was unbeatable, you know. And I think that was my thing. It's like, well, you made mono red really good, and you banned Fable, but people didn't really play Fable in mono red because it was kind of slow. They play Squee because it has haste, you know. So it kind of
and Sheldred survived, and everyone was gunning for Sheldred to die too. That's the other thing.
I'm glad they didn't take that away from us, man. I was, and honestly, dude, I with how things had gone, I came to expect it, you know. But I was talking with a friend about that the other day. There's and you always talk about there's so much removal. It's just like in standard you can remove it with 2 mana. In eternal formats you can remove it with 1 mana, and then in that case you just turn it into a bad trade of resources that you benefit from. If you remove
that's exactly
so
it.
It's like,
that's exactly it.
Screw
and
it.
I always see people, Sheldred's so powerful. I'm like, just kill it. Just kill it. It's not. Just fuck. I know there's ways to protect it. Just run removal and fucking kill it. That's the easiest thing. It's not hexproof on it. Like you don't need to run a board wipe to get rid of her, or you know.
And black doesn't really give hexproof.
Yeah, there's resurrection, but I mean that's built into black. You have to expect that maybe somebody will bring it out of the graveyard. I mean, it's powerful, but kill it, you know. So I run just for that reason. Whenever I show people a mono red deck, I run a 5-banger. I'm always like, if you're running into this, put a 5 damage in your sideboard. Yeah. That's all you need to do.
Well, and they started adding a lot of 5 damage spells because of it. Like, they definitely gave people the tools to deal with the card.
Oh, Nahiri's Warcrafting, easy. 2 red and 1, 5 damage, and if you use it on something else, you get to draw cards and play them. Like, it's so easy. Perfect. Turn three, you're ready to kill a Sheoldred. So yeah, I've always felt and people always say, no, it's coming. I think that's on the ban list. I said it's ubiquitous, but it dies to removal, man. It dies to 2 mana. That's good enough,
I still see Atraxa being banned before that, but I don't think it'll happen.
Oh man, Atraxa, yeah.
Or like a Atali. I could maybe see Atali getting banned. I guess we'll have to see how some of these other sets come out, All right, so we've got best and worst.
So we did best and worst, and we did both. Well, we did both, right?
Yeah. I did my best, and you did, and then we both did our worst.
Yeah. So we want to hear from you. What is your best and worst? What were your favorite and least favorite moments of the year? That's kind of important. We want to know what our audience thinks. But I think that next we want to look maybe ahead to what are we looking forward to coming up in the future in 2024. Because this will probably be up for patrons like on the 31st, and then it'll be up for everyone else on like January 1st, I think, is how we're going to work the schedule. What are we looking forward to? What are we not looking forward to? Standard set, rules changes, all kind of stuff coming up. I'll say that as far as for me, my number one thing I'm looking forward to is Outlaws at Thunder Junction. This is the first Wild West Magic card set. I couldn't be happier. I have been dreaming about a Wild West Magic card set since probably I was in middle school, and I was like, man, this would be so awesome if they did like a steampunk Wild West Magic set, because I just love that shit. I can't get enough of it, and I am just so stoked for it. That's coming out in, I think, May-ish, so we have a little while till we get there. Next one is Murder at Karlov Manor, which is early February, but I am absolutely giddy. I've got to get in touch with Magic, and it would be my dream to premiere one of those cards. It literally would be a childhood dream if they gave me the option to show off one of those cards or premiere one. I can't tell you my hype level for that card. I was building in my Discord. We had a thing called Project Gunslinger, and it was just a fun little thing that we did to make Wild West themed cards with art and mechanics. Yeah, so that's been like a thing from way back. Everyone always said they're never going to do it. It won't fit thematically. I always wanted to see it. But yeah, that is what I'm looking forward to. It looks like it's going to be really great and a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm super stoked. That is my number one hype. Hopefully they don't bungle it and it sucks. That would be really disappointing. Yeah, so that would be really disappointing if they bungle it and it sucks. However, I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm very optimistic that they'll nail it. It looks pretty good so far.
Yeah,
and
that'll be the last set before rotation too, huh? For standard,
I think we might get one more. Will we get? Oh yeah, standard rotation would be in September. I think that would be. It would rotate on Bloomborough, yeah.
So then, so that way you get to play with like a full standard with that set too. So that would be pretty cool when that comes out also. So that's noteworthy.
So yeah, that's my number one anticipated thing for next year. Close second, I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Final Fantasy. We know absolutely nothing about this set other than it's going to come out. We literally know nothing less. That is literally all we know, that it will eventually come out. We don't know what era it is, if it's going to be, the Final Fantasy VII or only the most recent stuff, or if it's going to be a full set, a half set. I think diesels are very scarce, other than it's going to happen next year. Very much looking forward to that. And I think that is going to be a fun one, to play as well. So honorable mention, definitely looking forward to number one, Thunder Junction. Number two is going to be doing the Final Fantasy stuff. And I think it's going to be an alchemy set. if I remember correctly. So that'll be really
pretty
fun.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I would say mine. I'm definitely excited to go to Magicon in February, like I was saying earlier. That's probably going to be my number one most look forward to thing. Doing like a full event the whole weekend. I'm pretty happy about being able to do that. Also, yeah, just some of these new sets and see how it all plays out. And then of course, you know, hopefully doing like more tournaments next year, stuff like that, being able to do that kind of thing, and you know, just see where Magic takes me, and definitely getting more into it, and you know, seeing if I can have some success in Chicago when I play in the events. So we'll see about that. So definitely going to be legit. I think the Karlov Manor set, I think that can be fun. So I'm interested in that.
Yes,
you said that's, you know, Ravnica.
That was one of the ones that you were very excited about, which is why I think that we decided to do the breakdown of Ravnica, which was our last video. Yeah, because just to kind of, I like the murder mystery vibe, but and any other time I'd be happy to return to Ravnica because I do like it.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, Cowboys blew it out of the water, man. Gunslingers and Cowboys, just, I can't not. So,
that's reasonable.
Yeah. What are you kind of not looking forward to? What is kind of filling you with dread in the upcoming year that you're feeling like, oh man, this doesn't look like a good change. This looks like it's going to suck, or I'm very hesitant about this, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not happy about play boosters still. And I know we kind of did a whole thing about that. So I'm not looking forward to like that being the way for people to get cards, like the main kind of thing, you know. I mean, it's going to reiterate to me that I really should just be buying singles when I buy cards, and I shouldn't be feeding into my gambling habit any more than I already do and just buying packs for no reason. But you know, and it's okay to buy it here and there, but you know, sometimes you get carried away, you buy too much, so it happens. But yeah, the play boosters, not terribly excited. We'll have to see. Maybe we buy a couple just to see what we get and to see like the likelihood of decent cards. But you know,
if I remember correctly, they are replacing set boosters and draft boosters, right? Is what's happening there?
Right.
Okay.
So the likelihood of like rare and mythic is kind of like, I think it's like in between what it was in a draft and a set. And what I liked about set boosters is sometimes I would get 3 or 4 mythics and rares in one pack, and that's cool. You know, that's what I enjoyed about buying set boosters, because I would buy the set boosters to hit that big card, you know. And that was that was the excitement of opening that pack. And then other people, and then you know, taking this another step, a lot of people are saying, well, this negatively impacts drafters as well, and drafting isn't going to be as fair because the draft boosters weren't supposed to be crazy OP, and that was part of what rounded out the fairness of drafting in general, at least as it was in paper. So now they're saying, like, you know, hey, you're getting these play boosters in here, and like somebody might get a pack that has 2 rares in it and that we're drafting, and everybody else is passing around 1. And you know, a pack that has 1 rare or mythic or whatever. And I think there was a chance you could get 2 rares in a draft booster, but it was a very low likelihood. But now you're making it more prevalent, and you're increasing that, and it kind of tips the scales on power level. And I know that it does it by chance, but I think what people don't like is that you add more, the need for more luck into the process of success or winning or whatever, having fun, doing well, you know, whatever that may be. And I think that's the fundamental change that people don't appreciate. So because of that, you know, I'm a little nervous. It makes me a tad nervous too, and this is kind of maybe just me getting too comfortable with the cards that we've had in standard. I'm a little nervous for rotation. Like, what are we gonna? I mean, it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna
be
oh
fresh,
man,
like,
it's gonna be a nuke, man.
You know,
it is going to be a nuke.
And maybe we can find it real quick. I still, and at one point I knew, but that was a while ago. I forget. Let me look it up real quick here. I forget what sets actually rotate out. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
net standard. Let's see.
It's gonna only be Eldraine forward.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because it would have been from when it was supposed to rotate the last time. That's like the first whatever. And yes, okay, so anything that, okay, so we'll have those 5, well, when the rotation hits, we'll have those, 5 sets, right? Because we have Eldraine, and then we have our current one, Ixalan, and then we have the 3 next year, Karlov, Thunder Junction, and is it Bloomburrow or Duskmourn that's coming out?
Bloomburrow.
Or both? Bloomburrow.
I think we're rotating on Bloomburrow.
So yeah, then we'll hit Bloomburrow and we'll have Eldraine, Ixalan, Karlov, Thunder Junction, and Bloomburrow. We'll have those 5 sets.
Yeah, we'll have those 5 sets.
Does that? I mean, maybe the what's the word? Maybe like
it's gonna be unrecognizable.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe the unknown is a little enticing for some people, but it sometimes the unknown to that degree is like gives me anxiety. So I don't know how I feel about that with having such a huge rotation in this wealth of cards and sets that we've had, just going poof into fucking nothing, because 90 to 95% of these cards won't be played anymore, really.
It's going to be
competitive format for that matter. So I don't know what to make of it. Like, nobody's really going to play with werewolves anymore. You know,
werewolves are gone.
Vampires formats.
Vampires will survive in a small aspect.
And they're like Blood Tithe Harvester. You know, like that gets played in what do you call it? That gets played. Excuse me, in like Pioneer. That's heavy in Pioneer. So that'll stick around. Sheoldred will stick around. You know, that's played in Modern and Pioneer.
Sheoldred won't rotate?
Well, I'm saying like it'll stick around in the sense of like it'll see play.
You
know what I mean?
You'll see it. You'll see it eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, just things like that. But I guess maybe there's a little bit of excitement because like, will it make the Eldraine cards more legit? Because you know how sometimes there are cards that are like, they weren't good until like almost a year or more after they came out. We talk about that sometimes. So like, you know, we complain about Eldraine, maybe it'll make Eldraine good.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be the Wild West. It's going to bust the format open.
Yeah. And maybe there's your exciting standard, and we just had to wait another year for it. I don't know. So yeah, I'm a little nervous for it. So I guess I feel kind of ambivalent because it's exciting to see what will come of it, but also just the amount of unknown, and like, because we don't know, we only know about 40% of the cards that'll be there. We don't know
we know 20% of the cards.
20?
Well, yeah, 40%. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we know less than half of the cards that'll be there, and we haven't been blown away with the last 2 sets of what's come out. Ixalan was definitely a step in the right direction, but we hasn't knocked our socks off.
No, I don't think there's been any really high-powered stuff that's like, whoa. It's hard to say. Will Dinosaur survive? Are we going to get any more dinosaur support? I think Angels might make it.
That's true. That's possible, yeah. Because they kind of do Angels like every set almost.
We already know that there's going to be Angels in Ravnica because of the Boros Legion. We even have a preview of the Wojak Investigator. Yeah. So we had some angels available in this new set. So they're obviously going to be there, there's going to be some angels. It's hard to say, I don't think there's probably going to be very many more dinosaurs. We're probably going to see a few more vampires. It's hard to say what the top meta is going to end up being.
Sure. Yeah. For some people that's exciting. For me, makes me a little nervous, a little anxious. So I'm not too happy about that. But with the last rotation we had, it produced good things. Things felt fresh, so I'm hoping that we get something similar. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
What are you not looking forward to? Did we already go over yours?
Okay, so no, I didn't say mine. Not looking forward to yet. I would have to. Man, what would I say I'm not looking forward to? That's a hard question to kind of think about per se. I'm definitely not really feeling. So this is kind of a paper anxiety. I'm kind of interested in seeing where paper goes. It's gonna be a little confusing. It's there's a lot of remastered products. I never really liked the remastered products. The amount of commander support, I'm kind of wondering about.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little anxious at how well. Here's the thing. Here's the underlying thread. Okay, let me say this. So they said they had to save standard by changing the format of standard, right? They said, "Oh, we got to save standard. This will get people to play standard, right?" And that was a big upset for everything, right? And then right after that, we say, and we got to do play boosters now. We're doing these we're getting rid of this. We're doing play boosters now. That's to save draft. Otherwise, draft would go under and there wouldn't be draft anymore. Okay. So Wizards is kind of internally signaling us that a bunch of these formats that are like the cornerstone of Magic are like in trouble. They're like standard, nobody's playing it. Draft, nobody's playing it. And to me, like Magic the Gathering is draft and standard in paper. So when you get like these internal rule changes from Wizards of the Coast, that's like, oh yeah, nobody plays draft and nobody plays standard. Those are like the main things that I play. And I know what the problem is. And not to knock Commander. It's Commander. Commander is sucking the air out of the room. And I feel like it's not so much, and that's not a bad thing. I like Commander. I own some Commander decks. I've partaken a wee bit. It's not my favorite, but I understand it's very popular.
It's fun.
I'm worried about it eating up more real estate. I feel like the investment in Commander is almost cannibalizing their own business. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that standard needs to change because nobody's playing it. We need to completely change how products are sold with set boosters because nobody's playing draft. You see the business being cannibalized. Like you're eating your own tail here. You're digging into your own other formats.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we're adding more formats. We're not even slimming down. We're like, oh, let's do Legacy, Vintage, Cube, Draft, Timeless. There's so many different formats. I feel like we have product bloat, and I feel like we have format bloat almost. And
very convoluted.
It is. I think that I know Commander's their big money maker, but at the end of the day, if they put all their eggs in the Commander basket, I think that they're going to lose a big aspect of the game. I think that Commander is important, but I'm worried that they're not going to get the signal, especially with Hasbro being the way that it's been. With the bottom line, firing people, with their executives, just dollar, say, okay, well, we'll milk Commander, we'll pour all of our eggs in one basket. We'll just say Commander is everything. We'll extract as much value as we can, and then, it all fell apart, and then nobody plays Commander anymore. It was more of a fad thing, and people moved on to something else. They moved on to Flesh and Blood or whatever. TCG is out now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have all this that you built up for this one format, and now it died or it fell off popularity.
You killed it.
And Standard is now Commander's dead. Now Standard is dead. Now Draft is dying, and I'm worried about the game. So that's probably my biggest anxiety. It's a little complex. It's a little existential, but there you have it.
Well, they haven't done like a lot of things to reassure you exactly. So
yeah,
I totally get it. And yeah, I mean that makes sense. And I think to your point with like, you know, I think that you can make the argument, and it may be Hasbro related, and that could be another like kind of ominous thing about where things are going in general. Just Hasbro's like lack of ability to just run a company in general. But part of it is also like, you know, hey, you had Commander and you had this and you had that, but don't forget that like the original thing was like drafting and playing within the format of the cards that were available, which is basically standard and draft. So in essence, that's actually your bread and butter. And I think and I think if you interpret and read between the lines of what they were saying about nobody plays standard, nobody drafts, it's not that nobody does it. It's that standard and drafting don't make you the money that Commander does. And
exactly. There we go.
And they directly correlate that to
success,
to, like, you know, to games played within the format, or like players, number of players in the format actively playing it. And they believe that like the dollar sign should correlate when that's not necessarily what it is. And I get it, like people do need to still spend money to keep your game alive, which is totally a thing. But if you make that your primary metric, you're completely getting away from the you know the central focus of it to begin with. So yeah, I do think that there could be issues on the horizon. And it wasn't a good look that, you know, right before the end of the year we're cutting a large percentage of the company after you acquire them. That doesn't seem good at all.
So also I think something that we're both worried about and probably not looking forward to, I forgot to bring this one up. Our somebody we've worked with both personally got fired from the company. Jesse Hill, who was our early access,
free Jesse.
Yeah, free Jesse, man. He got laid off. I am genuinely worried for early access streams. They were probably some of the most successful, the most hype building. It was probably one of the best outreach programs that they had to get people back into the game.
And it was just fun.
It was fun.
It's just flat out
fun. It was so much fun.
You know?
Seeing all the other people playing again. You know, I played against CGB. I played against Ali Eldrazi.
Sure.
You know, I got my ass whipped by them, and I beat up some people that I was surprised to beat up.
It's like it's its own like magic holiday every time they have
it. Is. It's like I look forward to it 4 times a year. There's like a crazy 20. I tell my
a quarterly, you know.
Yeah, I tell my girlfriend, hey, I'm not gonna be busy for 24 hours. I gotta play. I gotta play.
People take off work for this shit, man. You know, like,
I told my job, I'll check in the morning. I'll be at the morning meeting because it's always on Thursday. We have a staff meeting on Thursday. And I'll tell him, it's and I'm genuinely worried. He was the one that ran it. He made sure it ran well. He made sure everything was up and running. He got fired, or laid off. I don't know what the thing is. I don't know who is replacing him. I don't know I don't know what the future of early access is going to look like, because also it says on the if you look on the schedule about what's upcoming in upcoming for Murder of Karlov Manor, it does say that there still is an early access game happening. There's a streamer early access. Who is running that? We have no idea, and we are a month out. So we need to hear. We'll probably hear something. We might hear something in 2 weeks about who exactly is going to be running this program, and how it's even going to work. Is it canceled? Is it? I mean, so a lot of anxiety around that. We were very disappointed to hear that.
And some of the conjecture I've heard in regards to that also is this, you know, because they started to have a pretty good amount of people in there. They let schmucks like Jay and I in. So there's all kinds of other riffraff in there, you know, but they have a ton of people that were in it. And some of the conjecture was that Wizards was looking to maybe use that opportunity somewhat like as a reset, and then have like less people doing it, like almost like strictly limit it to ambassadors and like large streamers, neither of which are Jay or myself. So they would likely be cutting it off at the knees for a lot of people,
which is wild. I don't know, you know, I feel like, okay, maybe I don't pull maybe always the biggest Twitch audience, but my channel's grown pretty significantly. I feel like, you know, I'd still like to be involved in it. I don't know what the cutoff would be. And again, this anxiety about where is it going to be? Am I big enough to be in the streamer event? If there is a size cutoff, what is the minimum?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm on YouTube. Is it going to be Twitch only? You know, is because I divide my loyalties between them. Is that going to come back to haunt me? Because there's streamers who pull bigger streams, but they don't have a YouTube presence at all. They don't. None. They just have streams and VODs.
I have zero YouTube presence.
You know, so and like my early access, one of the videos I made, probably one of my biggest videos, was an early access video. I filmed it during early access, my biggest film of the year. So it got out to a lot of people. It showcased it. And I feel like also it was nice having a lot of smaller streamers in there because it flooded the market. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was streaming it. You know, every single person you ever heard of in the Magic space was there. So it was like a celebration. It was like a holiday.
Magic. You couldn't watch Magic on Twitch without seeing early access.
Exactly. You couldn't watch Magic without seeing the new stuff. Period. Yeah. And I think that was a good thing overall. So
I mean, for me, it's like, well, you know, why would you openly turn down that much free advertising for something that's like, I don't want to minimize what Jesse did, but why would you not, like, you know, try to keep it going and just devote what you need to devote to it? And
it could not
send
have
out
been
the emails, do whatever.
It could not have been that expensive in the grand scheme of things, you know?
Yeah. Now, I do know that the position I believe that Jesse had was, what do you call it? It was like kind of consumed by another person. And it feels like that person is just like doing 2 or 3 people's jobs now. That's kind of how I feel about the person.
That's like, what'll happen. Unfortunately, it's that'll happen in these big corporations.
Like consolidated positions.
And also, one of the biggest issues is it's a rapport issue. We knew Jesse. We had built a relationship with him. I had his email. You know, I could DM him. You know, I could DM him on Discord, on Twitter, and say, "Hey, I have this problem. I need this fixed," and he'd do it lickety split. So to build a new outreach relationship is going to be, you know, that's going to be complex. So some anxieties for the new year, but also some hopes. We are going to have to wait and see what happened. We hope that you join us there in the future of Magic Cards. What are your dear viewers and council members, what are you looking forward to? What is your anxieties? What is your futures? What are you looking forward to? What are you scared of? And what are your hopes and dreams? Like they said in Undertale, hopes and dreams. I don't know why I just referenced Undertale there. That's fucking random. Anyways, we want to hear from you. It is the council. It is a cooperative effort. We do want to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. But I think we covered everything. Is there anything else that you want to add? The numbest of skulls here?
Not too much. Just let us know what you're thinking about and what you enjoyed about the past year. Do you think it'll be an odd one because it's a leap year or whatever, you know? And also, we want to, I know we did it in the beginning, but we want to really make sure that you guys know how thankful we are that you know, for those who have either stuck around all year or since the beginning, whatever it is. And to those who, you know, new supporters, just any new people that we come across, we're just really thankful that you're watching our stuff. We hope it's enjoyable to you, and you know, feel free to be active in the comments and tell us what you want. It is, of course, a council, and we're, you know, we're really happy that the council has been able to grow into what it has, and be somewhat of I would like to say we're maybe a relevant podcast in the Magic space. Who knows? Somewhat relevant, if nothing else. And we couldn't do it without you guys. So the council is nothing if it's just Jay and I. It's just two dudes talking shit.
It's the rest of you guys.
Know, that's all it is. It's just two guys being dudes. That's all it is.
If you're not there, yeah, we're nothing without you guys. So we're so happy to have you. Important. We're so happy to have you, and we're so grateful for everything the support, everything that you do, and everything that we get from you guys. That we get advice in our Discord. We hear from you. We get topics that we want to talk about. All of it's fantastic. So we're always so happy to have that, and
for sure,
yeah.
And we want. And, although we were asking what you're looking forward to in the new year, we hope that you have a good start to your new year and have a good, next year, good end to this year as well. We hope everybody's doing all right in this holiday season. We hope that you got to spend time with families or people that you give a shit about, or just, do stuff you enjoy, whether you celebrate or don't celebrate anything. We just hope that you got some, some time to do something that makes you happy, and that, that you enjoyed yourself, towards the end of this year, and you continue to do so in the next year.
Absolutely. Happy New Year. We hope you have a happy one and a healthy one. And
likewise,
that you're doing good. And
sure.
That may the odds ever be in your favor. That's Hunger Games. I don't know why I just quoted Hunger Games, but it's relevant.
Yes. I'll second that.
Yeah, so good gaming. Have a good time. Happy New Year. We will talk to you in the next one, boys.
Sounds good.
So we will call this the final episode of the Black Council of the year of 2023. We call the final episode of the Black Council to the close of 2023. Goodbye, everyone. Good night, and we'll see you. Bye-bye.